All right, so we're back with another episode of Moon Knight. It's yo, oh my god. I don't know how to feel about this episode. Like I liked this episode, but then at the exact same time, I definitely have issues with this episode. So okay, first off, things that I love this episode: the Mr. Knight suit. I wasn't expecting him to change into the Mr. Knight suit so early, but that thing looks clean. Like I have to agree with him when he was standing in front of the door with the threads. I was like, yeah, okay, this looks clean as fuck. The transformation of him going from the Mr. Knight suit into the Moon Knight armor, fan fucking tastic. Uh, they definitely spent about 80% of their budget on making sure his transformations are absolutely on point, because those CGI Anubis dogs look absolutely horrible. And then like I have to sit down and wonder whether or not any of the other MCU projects that we've gotten TV show wise for Disney Plus, if they had bad CGI, and I don't feel as though they did. So for Falcon and the Winter Soldier, most of the CGI for that went into the wings. For Loki definitely had the most CGI out of any of the other shows, including I would say WandaVision, because there was a lot more magic and tech and other things happening in the background. Big sprawling landscapes in the that final area with Eliath in the sky lurking, and that beautiful shot of He Who Remains' castle sitting in the middle of the Sacred Timelines ring. Fantastic. Like, great. When you look at WandaVision, you can say that, yeah, there were a lot of powers being used, but the powers being used were kind of like on the low scale until she got into that fight with Agatha, and then it became a big scale. But that was one episode. Loki had great situations like that happening like every single other episode. Those all looked great. I don't know what's going on here in Moon Knight. Like those dogs, and I remember for a second during the at the end of the first episode, I went, "Oh, that dog was kind of rough." But then definitely in this second episode, I said the exact same thing when he got summoned. I was like, "Ooh, this dog is definitely kind of rough." Oscar Isaac continues to be absolutely fantastic. I love him as Mark Spector and Stephen Grant. I think they are both fantastic. I also love the dialogue between the both of them, because for Mark, he's the main body. I should say he's the main personality. He's the personality from which all the other personalities kind of branch off from. So for him, hearing basically one of his dissociative personalities talk about how he needs to get his body back, and then calling Mark the parasite, was actually kind of funny, because I don't think that Steven realizes yet that he's the personal amalgamation, where technically he shouldn't exist because nothing in his life really does make sense. And then Mark is the only one who actually has a paper trail to show that he existed before Steven woke up. So it was interesting seeing that dynamic. It's also interesting seeing them talk about what it's like to be the body outside of the main body. So we've seen Steven be in control and then Mark be the figment in the window. But it was interesting when Mark was in control and then Steven became the figment in the window, because Steven basically gives this explanation that he doesn't like the way in which it feels. It feels as though you're basically disconnected or disjointed, and it feels like really claustrophobic. To which Mark says that, oh well, you'll get used to it. Also, the idea that whoever uses the body more is the one who ends up in more control. So I really have to wonder if they're going to go back and explain how exactly Steven ended up in control of the body, if Mark willingly gave it to him or if something else is going on in on the back end. Uh, I keep wanting to call him Kevin Bacon, because for whatever reason, every single time I see his character, he reminds me of Kevin Bacon from Graboids. What is his name? He was married to Uma Thurman. Ethan Hawke. I continue to be interested in Ethan Hawke's character. Like I said, I'm not really deep in Moon Knight lore. If you're not Spider-Man, the X-Men, um, the Fantastic Four, or any of the core Avengers, I really didn't follow you as much. So I'm really interested to see where exactly that story goes. I like the fact that they've definitely brought forward the fact that Khonshu has had multiple different other Moon Knights throughout time, and it's interesting to see that basically. Why do I keep wanting to call him Kevin Bacon? Where fuck it, he's just gonna be Kevin Bacon from now on. It's very interesting to see that Kevin Bacon has essentially worked with Khonshu before, and he was the previous prophet for Khonshu, and then Khonshu cast him to the side. It's also interesting to see the philosophical debate between the way in which Khonshu views justice and the way in which, I forget what her name is, views justice. I think it's like Amunet views justice, where she sees justice as something that has to happen if that person is to commit a crime in the future. It's like if there's a possibility, like a 2% chance, that down the line in your future you're going to commit a crime, you should instantly die that day. Whereas for Khonshu is basically how the law works, which is the punishment comes after the crime. Once you commit a crime, then is when Khonshu decides that you're to be punished. And depending on how he operates with his other Egyptian gods, if it is not within his realm to punish you when you're alive, then is within his realm to punish you once you're dead. So it's interesting the different philosophical debates going on between both Khonshu, also discovering that Khonshu's isn't shit. So you know that a lot of the ancient deities got some type of sus behavior going on with them, but for us, the viewers, seeing that Khonshu is essentially a manipulative douchebag, where he's manipulating Mark to be his prophet, his agent on Earth, under the threat that if he isn't, he'll just take basically Mark's wife and turn her into the next Moon Knight. So he's constantly sending him on these missions, reaffirms what essentially Ethan Hawke's character was trying to explain, which is there's always another mission, there's always another deal, there's always going to be something else that Khonshu is going to do to rope you in so that you're always serving him. So it's interesting to see that there's a little bit of kernels of truth with Ethan Hawke's character, even if he's basically insane for what he wishes to do. And I like the fact that Steven, the one who's outside of the depth of what's going on around him, is the one to point out to both Kevin Bacon and all of his followers that, hey, are you guys okay with killing kids? Because he asks them that. He's like, well, if a kid makes a decision 30 years from now and there's only a 10% chance, but you're going to kill him off of that 10% chance, is everybody okay with that? And you can see that a lot of his followers really aren't okay with that, but at the exact same time, they don't have the power to go against what he's essentially trying to do, because not only has he provided like this great peaceful space for them, he hasn't been wrong yet. So I'm very interested to see exactly how the philosophical debate amongst the Egyptian gods, but also the former prophets of Khonshu, is going to be going forward on this show. I think that the very first 2 episodes were essentially to get us used to the characters and used to the situations that they're in, and to see the perspectives of both the current and former Moon Knight, but then also to see that Khonshu is kind of like in this murky area. And then going forward, it's basically just going to be Mark Spector, with the occasional chiming in of Stephen Grant as his the good side of his conscience. Going forward, the dynamic's going to change, especially since they've basically switched from location of central London to what looks like Cairo and Egypt. But I like this episode. This episode was dope as shit. Moon Knight hasn't let me down yet. I'm definitely having a blast. I can understand why a lot of people aren't really vibing with the show, because the show does require you to think a little bit more than most of the other MCU shows did. It also didn't just jump straight into the tales of astonishing. It's building a narrative. It's definitely one of those slow burn shows. I would say that maybe the first 4 episodes are going to be slow burns, or going to be in that slow burn category, and then the last 2 episodes are just going to be big and bombastic, and I'm hoping that they're saving their CGI budget for those last 2 episodes, because damn if those dogs didn't look like PlayStation 4 graphics. But yeah, I enjoyed the fuck out of Moon Knight. I'm hoping that you enjoyed the hell out of Moon Knight too. Sorry that this episode, or should I say this my thoughts / review video came out like a day after, dealing with some stuff on my end, trying to clear it up. But let me know what you think about this episode 2 of Moon Knight, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.